Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to dig into how you perceive reality, but maybe more importantly, how you actively ignore it.
Exactly. It's less about the objective facts of your life and much more about the structure of your attention. We're looking at that one profound moment, that point of no return, when what you thought was solid ground suddenly,
Hmm.
well, it reveals itself.
I love that metaphor. It's like you're walking across a huge steel bridge on a foggy night. You're just walking, assuming it's pavement, seamless continuity.
Mm.
And then there's this tiny vibration, a tremor. And it reminds you this whole thing was built, it was engineered, it has limits, and it's suspended over a very, very deep drop.
And that tremor you mentioned, that's the necessary glitch, right? It's the glitch in the system.
The system that's trying to be efficient.
Exactly. Our brains are, they're built for efficiency. They have to be. We're constantly trying to minimize data overload, so we fall back on these perceptual habits. That's why you can say, I'm totally fine, while your whole body is telling a different story.
Shoulders up by your ears, shallow breath.
Right. Your body is screaming a truth that your conscious mind is just sort of pushed into the background.
We just compress all this data, emotional, physical, into a story that works, a stable narrative.
And that compression lets us function, of course, but it comes with this huge hidden cost.
Which is?
Temporary blindness. We push uncomfortable truths out of focus, so we don't have to deal with the sheer complexity of it all the time.
So, okay, our mission for this deep dive is to unpack this Gestalt idea of figure and ground, how the mind sorts everything out. And we want to find out what happens when that whole arrangement just flips, irreversibly.
And that flip, that point of no return, is surprisingly where real freedom begins.
Okay, so where do we start?
Well, we have to start with the fact that perception isn't passive. It's not like you're a camera just recording data. It's an incredibly active process of organizing. Your mind is constantly deciding what to pull forward as the focused figure and what to let recede into the background.
And what's its main goal when it's doing all that sorting? Is it accuracy? Is it truth?
Not at all. Its priority is the simplest, most stable picture it can create. It's a principle called the law of pregnance. Basically a drive toward what they call good form.
So, stability over truth.
Every time. If the truth would destabilize your view of yourself, your job, your relationship, your mind will often choose the blurrier but safer story.
That makes so much sense. It explains why we can just keep going. You can be surrounded by a mountain of evidence that something isn't working, but you're convinced the status quo is fine.
You've chosen stability. That fatigue you feel, that misalignment, that loneliness, all of that just gets softened. It becomes part of the background noise of that's just life.
Because if it became a sharp, clear figure,
then it would demand action. And that's threatening.
So if the mind is so good at keeping things stable, what breaks through? What kind of tremor is small enough to get past the defenses, but strong enough to shake the bridge?
It's often something tiny, but precise. It's a moment of pure, unsolicited feedback. A colleague might say, "You seem really hesitant about that." Or a stranger in a coffee shop asks, "Are you sleeping okay?"
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's not an accusation, it's just a clean reflection.
And that one sentence just cuts through everything. The fatigue that was just this background fog suddenly snaps into focus. It's not fog anymore, it's a specific, undeniable thing.
That's the figure ground reversal. That's the flip. The contradiction you're holding down suddenly has a shape. Or you look at an old photo and realize, oh my God, that smile was completely hollow.
And you can't unsee it.
You cannot unsee it. Once that figure emerges, the game changes.
This makes me think of those classic visual illusions, like the Rubin vase.
Perfect example.
You look at the black shape and you see a vase, it's the figure. But then you shift your attention just a little and the whole thing flips, the white space becomes the figure, and you see two faces looking at each other.
And the image itself, the data, it hasn't changed at all. But your perception is completely dynamic. And the key is, once you've seen the faces, you can never go back to not knowing they're there. That's the point of no return.
Okay, let's take an even trickier one. The Muller-Lyer lines. You have two lines that are exactly the same length, but the arrows on the ends make one look way longer than the other. And even when you know they're the same, your eyes still scream that they're different.
And that friction, that's the important part. The friction between knowing one thing and experiencing another. So now, apply that to your life. Imagine your sense of self is built on a massive Muller-Lyer illusion.
Okay.
You've mistaken, say, financial confinement for security, you've confused endless scrolling on your phone with being informed, or you've believed that your identity is your list of obligations.
And then awareness comes along and hands you a ruler, and you measure the lines.
Yes, the illusion breaks. And notice, The world doesn't destabilize because anything external changed. It destabilizes because your internal figure-ground relationship just shattered.
The thing you called safe, or me, was actually just the background pattern, and now this raw, true thing has stepped forward.
Which is why the experience is often vertigo, not joy.
Right. We think of freedom as this big expansion, like infinite choices, but this sounds more like a contraction.
Because true freedom, the kind that comes from awareness, is about necessity. When you see the bridges suspended over a canyon, you lose the choice to walk carelessly. You have to walk with full awareness. Your options narrow to what is necessary.
So you either walk with the truth of the situation, or you try to. What, bury it again?
You can try, but the field becomes brittle. You're now spending huge amounts of energy to suppress a known truth, and the whole structure is just waiting for the next tremor.
So once that figure emerges, the real work begins. The whole field has to reorganize. Which brings us to this idea of isomorphism.
Isomorphism, yeah.
Yeah.
It's central to Gestalt psychology. It's basically the idea that your inner world and your perception of the outer world mirror each other. If your psychological structure is fragmented, your reality will feel fragmented.
The outside reflects the inside.
Precisely. So when a new, true figure emerges, it's like dropping a stone into still water. It doesn't just add a new object, it reshapes the entire landscape. The reflections, the depth, everything changes.
So any real insight literally redraws our map of the world.
It has to. And this leads right into the mind's engine. The drive for closure. It's another Gestalt law. We see a circle with a tiny gap in it. Our brain automatically fills it in. Our nervous system hates unresolved tension.
We're programmed to resolve an open Gestalt.
We are. But what happens when the gap isn't a missing piece of a puzzle? What if the gap is an internal one? The part of yourself you've pushed away. Maybe it's your creativity, maybe it's your vulnerability.
Then the effort to close it becomes a loop, a compulsion.
Yes, you're using background strategies to solve a figure problem. Instead of making direct contact with the vulnerability, we try to close the gap with control, with justification.
Checking email at 11 p.m. to feel in control.
Or telling the story of how busy and successful you are, hoping it'll paper over the hollowness. That compulsive loop actually widens the gap because it's all about avoiding contact with the raw, incomplete figure itself.
We're not trying to complete ourselves, we're just trying to avoid the tension of being incomplete. Which brings us to the aha moment, the big release.
Insight. And it's never a slow, gradual thing. It's a phase shift. It's sudden. Think that classic image of the Dalmatian dog.
Right, the one with all the black splotches.
You're staring at it, and it's just a mess of random spots. There's no dog. And then all at once, bam, the dog snaps into focus. The image didn't change, but your entire perceptual field just reorganized itself instantly.
Okay, let's apply that to something deep, like anxiety. For years, you see your anxiety as the figure. It's a sign of weakness, a failure to cope. It's always in the way.
But then one day, you're paying really close attention, and the field flips. You notice your anxiety only spikes right before you do something genuinely authentic.
Right before you quit the job you hate, or set a boundary you desperately need to set.
Exactly. And suddenly, the anxiety isn't the figure of weakness anymore. It becomes the ground. And the new figure that emerges against it is your resistance to your own freedom. It was never a fear of failure. It was a fear of success. It wasn't loyalty. It was a fear of being truly on your own.
Wow, that's a total reversal.
That's the reversal. And it leads to what the Gestaltists call Vollständigkeit, wholeness. True health isn't about getting rid of the fear or anxiety. It's about including all the parts, the light and the shadow, into one whole configuration.
So you stop editing your experience to fit the story of who you think you should be.
And the field stabilizes. Not because you forced the gap closed, but because you expanded to include it. That looping tension you felt, it doesn't just disappear, it transforms into usable energy for real action.
So it's all about where you direct your attention.
When it's fully directed, not just superficially paid, whatever you're looking at loses its power to control you. The fear is still there, but it's not destiny anymore.
It becomes data, not the dictator. It moves from being the figure that runs your life to just part of the background information.
Which is the very definition of agency. And when that happens, you arrive at this silent, charged feeling of being anchored, not by rules or chains, but by finally dropping the illusions and making unfiltered contact with what is actually real.
We spend our lives building up this armor, right? Roles, personas, justifications, all at the boundary between us and the world.
And awareness just strips that armor away. What's left is a permeable, responsive membrane. You feel more,
Yeah.
which is, frankly, terrifying.
Because freedom means total responsibility.
And fully inhabiting your own limits.
Mm.
The quiet terror of it all is realizing you can see your own hand in how you've constructed your reality.
There's no one left to blame. Not fate, not them.
No. You realize the power to reorganize your reality doesn't come from willpower. It comes from just standing in the truth of what you now see. Your presence is the catalyst.
And from that presence, you get genuine spontaneity. You act because the action flows from the whole picture. You speak because there's something true to say, not because you need to fill the silence.
You rest because your body needs it, not because you've earned it. It's congruence, and once you're at that threshold, you can't really go back. Your internal world has fundamentally restructured itself. The old, blurry stability just isn't available anymore.
Okay, so we've established this point of no return as a threshold, not some final destination, but let's leave our listener with one last, provocative thought to chew on.
Okay. Consider the ultimate paradox of this whole process. You've done the work. You've integrated a shadow. You've seen a hidden figure. You've reached a new state of wholeness, of Vollständigkeit. But what if? What if that new integrated truth, that figure you just embraced, is itself just one part of an even larger ground you haven't even begun to perceive?
So every point of no return is really just another turn in a spiral. You thought you finally saw the bridge for what it was. Maybe you haven't even seen the riverbed yet.
Awareness doesn't offer safety. It doesn't offer final answers. It offers depth. The field is never static. The next figure is always waiting, patient and insistent. The only question is our willingness to see it when it rises.